both the oldest and the largest church in Eastbridge. It was only the second church outside the walls, and since the first one was called St. John, they decided to call this one St. James, since John and James were brothers. It's a rather unusual choice of architect, since he was much more famous for a number of schools. It's not his only church he's designed though, but he is the architect with the most community schools in Copenhagen to his name. Zion's church has the distinction of encompassing a complete neighborhood, the Copenhagen part of Hellerup. The bulk of the parish, however, is Eastbridge. Originally without tower, this was added in 1921 by Christopher Warming. The encroachment of the neighboring buildings means that there's very little light entering the church room, and it has therefore a cave-like appearance. The walling up of the gallery obviously doesn't help with the lighting. Ostensibly named after the Freeport, it's a peculiar name because not only is only parts of the Freeport actually part of the parish, but the parishioners there has no easy route to get to the church. The St. Joseph Sisters has both a school and a hospital in Copenhagen, but none of them are anywhere near the convent. Discreet is probably the best way of describing the Apostolian Church. No poster boards, no bells, no big signs. In fact, you have to know it's there. Behind the seemingly innocuous name of the Peace Church hides big drama. The name refers to the proximity of the Peace Park, the Peace Road, the Peace Bridge, all referring to the tranquility of the neighboring Black Dam Lake. Black Dam Lake also gave the name to a dance hall that used to be here, and this is where the controversy comes in, because turning an amusement place into a church was such a big deal that the people behind the church would actually split in two, and two churches were built instead. As a result, there were no money for building the tower, so that was added later, designed by Martin Nyrop. Controversy didn't end there, because alone of the parish churches on Eastbridge, it has been closed as such and handed over to the International Christian Community, which is an independent congregation. Although it's a neighboring church that's named after the Greenland apostle, it was actually here that for almost a century the sermons were held in Greenlandic. St. Austin's is the local Catholic church, and there is an associated high school physically built onto the church, but this has the name after Nicholas Steno. The junior partner to the Freeport Church, the Luther Church, was built in time for the quinticentennial anniversary of the breakout of the Reformation. There almost were no space for this church, as you can see the spire of the St. James Church in the background very close by. Like the Luther Church, the Hanseatic Church was built for an anniversary. This was the bicentennial of Apostle of Greenland. In recent years, it has seen the number of parishioners skyrocket due to development in the former Freeport into residential area. The parish is called Ellersro and spans both Eastbridge and Northbridge, but the church is placed in Eastbridge and are therefore included here. The parish was created in 1908, but for the first 20 years they had to contend with a temporary church. I go out on a limb here because whether the Unitarians should actually be called Christians is a matter of debate. They do not always call themselves Christians. Springwells is the newest of the parish churches on Østerbro proper, and Due to its nature of being a private donation originally, it had to fight for its parish borders. The rather dominant position is due to its benefactor. The man who built the foundation right next to it also gave this piece of land to the church. Your argument that Lånehus is not Eastbridge is completely valid. The inclusion of it here is due to politics. From the middle of the 19th century, the church has been split into two directions. One is the followers of Grundtvig, the others are the inner mission. So when they built a large new church and named it after Grundtvig, in order to placate the inner mission in the area, it was decided to give them a church also. It took some years to sort out the finances, but eventually a new church rose. And further, so to split the two different lineages, it was decided to put the two churches in different deaneries. Thus, Lånehus, though technically not part of Eastbridge, is placed in the same deanery as Eastbridge.